Part 2. The Aegis was a busy place. Captain Ryan Cole moved through the halls of the starship, his boots echoing softly on the metal floor. The crew was hard at work, preparing for the mission ahead. It wasn't just about packing supplies or checking equipment. It was about finding the right people. This wasn't a job for ordinary soldiers or scientists. They needed individuals who could think quickly, adapt to the unknown, and handle whatever challenges came their way. Ryan stopped outside the medical bay. Inside, Dr. Megan Harper was bent over a microscope, her brow furrowed in concentration. She didn't notice him at first. Her red hair was tied back in a loose ponytail, and her lab coat had smudges of ink and dirt on it. Ryan cleared his throat, and she looked up, startled. "Captain," she said, pushing her glasses up the bridge of her nose. "Is everything okay? I need to talk to you," Ryan replied. "About the mission." Megan sighed and leaned back in her chair. "I figured this was coming. What do you want to know?" "You're one of the best xenobiologists we've got," Ryan said. "If there's any chance of understanding the Vorthok or stopping them, you're the person I need on this team." Megan hesitated. She glanced at the microscope, then back at Ryan. "You do realize how dangerous this is, right? The Vorthok aren't like anything we've faced before. Their biology, it's alien in every sense of the word." "That's why I need you," Ryan said firmly. "We don't have time to learn as we go. We need someone who can figure things out on the fly." Megan bit her lip, thinking. Finally she nodded. "All right, I'm in. But I want full access to the ship's labs and no shortcuts. If we're going to do this, we're doing it right." Ryan smiled. "Deal." Next, Ryan headed to the flight deck. Lieutenant Alex Carter was already there, running diagnostics on the ship's engines. Alex was young, only 24, but he had a reputation for being one of the best pilots in the fleet. His dark hair was always slightly messy, and his uniform rarely fit quite right, but none of that mattered when he was behind the controls of a starship. "Hey, Captain," Alex said without looking up. "What brings you here?" "We're assembling the team," Ryan said, "and I need you on board." Alex finally turned to face him, a smirk playing on his lips. "You sure about that? I've heard some captains don't like having hotshots around." Ryan chuckled. "Believe me, I've thought about it. But your skills are exactly what we need. The Vorthok swarm isn't going to give us much room for error. I need someone who can fly circles around them if necessary." Alex's smirk faded, replaced by a serious expression. "You're not just talking about flying, are you? This is bigger than that." "It is," Ryan admitted. "And it's not going to be easy. You'll be risking your life, not just for humanity, but for the entire galaxy." Alex crossed his arms and leaned against the console. For a moment, he didn't say anything. Then he shrugged. "All right, Captain, count me in. Just promise me one thing." "What's that?" "Don't make me sit on the sidelines. If we're doing this, I want to be in the thick of it." Ryan nodded. "You've got my word." The last stop was the armory, where Sergeant Ben Miller was inspecting weapons. Ben was older than most of the crew, with graying hair and a comb's scar running down the side of his face. He'd served in countless battles and seen things that would haunt anyone for life. But despite his tough exterior, Ben had a heart of gold. He treated his teammates like family and would do anything to protect them. "Sergeant," Ryan said as he entered the room. "Got a minute?" Ben looked up from the rifle he was cleaning. "Sure, Captain. What's up?" "I need you on this mission," Ryan said. "No arguments." Ben raised an eyebrow. "You don't even know if I'm willing yet." "I do," Ryan said with a small smile. "Because you're the kind of person who doesn't back down when things get tough. And trust me, they're going to get very tough." Ben set the rifle down and wiped his hands on a rag. "What makes you so sure I'm the guy you want? There are plenty of younger, stronger soldiers out there." "You're not just strong," Ryan said. "You're smart. You've been in combat zones long enough to know how to survive. And more importantly, you know how to keep others alive. That's something we're going to need." Ben stared at him for a moment, then nodded. "All right, Captain, you've got yourself a deal. But don't expect me to play nice with whoever else you bring on board." "I've got standards," Ryan laughed. "Fair enough." As the days passed, the rest of the team began to come together. Elena, the mysterious woman they'd picked up during the supply run, became part of the group after proving her knowledge of the Vorthek. Though she kept to herself most of the time, her insights were invaluable. She seemed to understand the enemy in ways no one else did, almost as if she had lived among them. The final member of the team was a technician named Sam Rivera. Sam wasn't a soldier or a scientist, he was a mechanic. But his talent for fixing things made him indispensable. Whether it was repairing the ship's engines or jury-rigging a piece of alien technology, Sam could make it work. His cheerful personality also helped lighten the mood whenever tensions ran high. By the time the preparations were complete, the Aegis felt different. The air buzzed with energy, a mix of excitement and nervousness. Everyone knew the stakes. They were heading into uncharted territory, facing an enemy that had already destroyed countless worlds. Failure wasn't an option. On the eve of their departure, Ryan gathered the team in the briefing room. The walls were lined with screens displaying maps of the galaxy and data about the Vorthek. Ryan stood at the front, his hands clasped behind his back. "Tomorrow, we leave Earth," he began. "This isn't just another mission. It's a chance to prove what humanity is capable of. The galaxy is counting on us, and whether we succeed or fail, our actions will define us." He paused, letting his words sink in. "We're not perfect. None of us are. But we're adaptable, we're resourceful, and we're determined. That's why they chose us. Not because we're the strongest or the smartest, but because we're willing to try. Because we refuse to give up." The room was silent. Each member of the team exchanged glances, their expressions a mix of pride and fear. They knew the road ahead wouldn't be easy. But for the first time, they felt ready. "Get some rest tonight," Ryan said finally. "Tomorrow we head into the unknown." As the team filed out of the room, Ryan stayed behind, staring at the map of the galaxy. The path ahead was uncertain, filled with danger and uncertainty. But deep down, he believed they could do it. Humanity had faced impossible odds before, and somehow, they always found a way to prevail. The countdown to launch continued, and the weight of responsibility settled heavily on Ryan's shoulders. The galaxy was desperate, and only humans could save them. Part 1. The galaxy was in trouble. A dark shadow loomed over stars and planets, swallowing them whole. It wasn't a war or a natural disaster, it was something far worse. An alien race called the Vorthek had unleashed a weapon that no one could stop. The weapon wasn't a bomb or a fleet of ships. It was a swarm of tiny machines. These machines, called nanobots, moved like a plague across the galaxy. They consumed everything they touched: planets, moons, even entire solar systems. Nothing could stop them. The Galactic Council, a group of leaders from different alien species, met in secret to discuss what could be done. For weeks they argued and debated. Some wanted to send their best warriors to fight the Vorthek directly. Others thought they should try to negotiate with the enemy. But none of these ideas worked. The Vorthek were too powerful, and their nanobot swarm was spreading faster than anyone could imagine. Entire civilizations were wiped out before anyone could act. Finally, someone suggested something radical. "What about humanity?" asked Ambassador Kale, a tall, green-skinned alien with shimmering eyes. His voice was calm but carried weight. The room fell silent. Humanity, a species that had only recently joined the galactic stage, was not exactly trusted by the other races. Humans were seen as reckless, unpredictable, and sometimes even dangerous. But they were also resourceful. And right now, resourcefulness was exactly what the galaxy needed. Humans? Are you serious? Snapped another council member, a spindly creature with 4 arms and glowing antennae. They're barely advanced enough to travel outside their own solar system. How can they possibly help us? Ambassador Kale leaned forward, his expression steady. Because they've faced challenges like this before, he said. Their history is filled with moments where they had to adapt quickly to survive. They may not have the technology we do, but they have something else: creativity and desperation. Makes them dangerous. The council members exchanged uneasy glances. No one liked the idea of relying on humans, but they had no better options. After hours of heated discussion, they agreed to reach out to Earth. If humanity refused, the galaxy would fall. But if they accepted, there might still be hope. On Earth, Captain Ryan Cole sat in his quarters aboard the starship Aegis. He stared at the screen in front of him, replaying the message he'd just received. It came from Ambassador Lisa Monroe, a human representative to the Galactic Council. Her face was pale, her voice tense as she explained the situation. "Captain Cole," she began, "the galaxy is facing an existential threat. We need your help." Ryan sighed and leaned back in his chair. He was used to tough missions, but this sounded impossible. The Vorthok weren't just another enemy, they were a force of nature. Their nanobot swarm didn't care about shields or weapons. It ate through metal, rock, and flesh alike. How was he supposed to stop something like that? Still, Ryan knew he couldn't ignore the request. Humanity had fought hard to earn its place among the stars. Turning down this mission would mean turning their backs on the rest of the galaxy and possibly sealing their own doom. If the Vorthok reached Earth, it would only be a matter of time before the planet was consumed. He stood up and walked to the window, looking out at the vast expanse of space. The Aegis was docked near Earth's orbit, surrounded by stars that twinkled like diamonds against the blackness. Ryan felt a pang of pride mixed with fear. This was humanity's chance to prove itself, to show the galaxy that Earth wasn't just another insignificant world, but it came at a cost. If they failed, billions of lives would be lost. Ryan turned away from the window and headed toward the bridge. As he walked, he thought about his crew. They were good people, skilled, and loyal. But this mission would test them in ways they couldn't imagine. Could they handle it? More importantly, could he handle it? When Ryan arrived on the bridge, his first officer, Lieutenant Alex Carter, greeted him with a grin. "You look like you've seen a ghost, Captain," Alex said. "Everything okay?" Ryan hesitated, then shook his head. "I just got a message from Ambassador Monroe. The Galactic Council wants us to take on a special mission. It's complicated." Alex raised an eyebrow. "Complicated how?" Ryan took a deep breath. "The Vorthok are destroying the galaxy with some kind of unstoppable nanobot weapon. The Council thinks we're the only ones who can stop them." For a moment, Alex just stared at him. Then he burst out laughing. "You're kidding, right? Us? Against the Vorthok? That's insane." Ryan crossed his arms. "Tell me about it. But here's the thing, we don't have a choice. If we say no, the galaxy falls. And eventually, so does Earth." Alex's laughter faded, replaced by a grim expression. "So what's the plan?" "We'll need everyone," Ryan said. "Not just the usual crew. We'll need specialists, people who can think outside the box. People who aren't afraid to take risks." Alex nodded slowly. "All right, Captain, let's get to work." Over the next few days, Ryan assembled his team. First, there was Dr. Megan Harper, a brilliant xenobiologist who had spent years studying alien life forms. She was quiet and reserved, often lost in her own thoughts, but her knowledge was unmatched. Next was Sergeant Ben Miller, a grizzled veteran who had seen more battles than he cared to remember. Though rough around the edges, Ben was fiercely protective of his crewmates. Then there was Elena, a mysterious woman they encountered during a supply run. She claimed to have escaped from a Vorthok-controlled planet, though she didn't offer many details. Something about her story didn't add up, but Ryan decided to give her a chance. Maybe she could provide valuable insight into the enemy. As the preparations continued, Ryan couldn't shake the feeling that this mission would change everything. He didn't know if they would succeed or even survive, but he knew one thing. For sure, humanity's fate depended on it. And maybe, just maybe, they could save the galaxy too. The countdown to launch began, and the weight of responsibility settled heavily on Ryan's shoulders. The galaxy was desperate, and only humans could save them. Part 3. The Aegis soared through the vast emptiness of space, its engines humming softly as it left Earth's orbit behind. The crew worked tirelessly to prepare for the journey ahead. Each member had their own tasks, checking systems, reviewing data, and making sure everything was ready for the challenges they would face. But despite their focus, there was an undercurrent of tension. No one spoke much about what lay ahead, but everyone felt it, the weight of the mission pressing down on them. Captain Ryan Cole stood on the bridge, staring out at the endless sea of stars. The ship's navigation system plotted a course toward the edge of known space, where the Vorthek nanobot swarm had been spotted last. It wasn't just a straight line. The route twisted and turned to avoid asteroid fields, radiation zones, and other dangers. Even with advanced technology, traveling through deep space was risky. One wrong move could mean disaster. "Captain," Lieutenant Alex Carter called from the pilot's seat. "We're approaching the first anomaly zone." Ryan nodded and walked over to join him. On the view screen, a dense cluster of asteroids loomed in the distance. The rocks tumbled chaotically, colliding with each other and sending smaller fragments spinning into space. Navigating through such a field required precision and nerves of steel. "Take us in slowly," Ryan instructed. "Let's see if we can find a clear path." Alex gripped the controls tightly, his eyes fixed on the screen. "You got it, Captain." As the Aegis entered the asteroid field, alarms began to blare. A large rock careened toward the ship, forcing Alex to swerve sharply to avoid it. The sudden movement sent some of the crew stumbling, but Alex kept his cool, maneuvering the ship with practiced skill. Dr. Megan Harper clutched the back of her chair, her face pale. "That was close," she muttered. "It's not over yet." Alex replied, his voice calm but focused. "Hold on tight." For the next several minutes, the ship weaved through the chaos, dodging debris and narrowly avoiding collisions. Finally, they emerged on the other side, unscathed but shaken. "Well done," Ryan said, patting Alex on the shoulder. "Good flying." Alex grinned, though sweat glistened on his forehead. "Thanks, Captain. Let's hope the rest of the trip isn't like that." But the journey only grew stranger. Days passed, and the Aegis encountered more remnants of civilizations destroyed by the Vorthek. Entire planets reduced to barren wastelands floated silently in the void, their surfaces scarred and lifeless. On one such planet, the crew detected faint energy readings, a sign that someone or something might still be alive. "We should investigate," Ryan decided. "If there are survivors, they might have information about the Vorthek." The team suited up and boarded a shuttlecraft, descending to the surface of the desolate world. As they stepped onto the cracked ground, the air was thick with dust and silence. It felt like a graveyard. Sergeant Ben Miller scanned the area with his weapon drawn. "Stay sharp," he warned. "We don't know what's out here." They followed the energy signal to a crumbling structure half buried in rubble. Inside, they found a lone figure huddled in the shadows. She was thin and frail, her clothes torn and dirty. Her wide eyes darted around as the crew approached cautiously. "It's okay," Ryan said gently, raising his hands to show he meant no harm. "We're here to help." The woman hesitated before speaking. You're human?" "Yes," Ryan replied. "What's your name?" "Elena," she whispered. "I thought I was the last one." Elena explained that she had been part of a research team studying the Vorthek when their base was attacked. Everyone else had died, leaving her alone to survive in the ruins. She told them about the swarm's relentless hunger and how it consumed everything in its path without discrimination. "There's something else," Elena added hesitantly. "The Vorthek. They're not evil. They're programmed to act this way. Something went wrong long ago, and now they can't stop." Dr. Megan Harper frowned. "Programmed? You mean they're machines?" "Not exactly," Elena said. "They're alive but controlled by an ancient system. If you want to stop them, you'll need to reach their central control node." Ryan exchanged glances with his team. This changed everything. Instead of destroying the Vorthek, they might be able to reprogram them. But reaching the control node wouldn't be easy. It was located deep within Vorthek territory, surrounded by countless drones. "Can you guide us?" Ryan asked Elena. She nodded slowly. "I'll do what I can. But it won't be safe." "We didn't sign up for safe," Alex quipped. Earning a glare from Ben Dot with Elena on board, the Aegis resumed its journey. The crew spent hours reviewing her knowledge of the Vorthek, trying to piece together a plan. Megan pored over schematics and data, while Sam Rivera worked on modifying the ship's weapons to better handle the nanobot threat. Meanwhile, tensions simmered among the crew. Alex and Ben clashed frequently, their personalities too different to mesh easily. Alex's impulsiveness grated on Ben's disciplined nature, leading to heated arguments. Ryan had to step in more than once to keep the peace. "You two need to figure this out," Ryan snapped during one particularly loud disagreement. "We're all that stands between the galaxy and total destruction. If we can't work together, we're doomed." Both men fell silent, ashamed. From then on, they made an effort to cooperate, though the tension never fully disappeared. As the days turned into weeks, the Aegis ventured deeper into uncharted space. Strange phenomena became more frequent: gravitational distortions, bursts of cosmic radiation, and eerie pockets of darkness that seemed to swallow light whole. The crew marveled at these wonders, even as they reminded themselves of the danger lurking nearby. One night, as the ship drifted through a nebula glowing with vibrant colors, Ryan joined Elena in the observation deck. She stood by the window, gazing at the swirling clouds of gas and dust. "It's beautiful," she said softly. "It is," Ryan agreed. "But beauty can be deceptive. Out here, it often hides danger." Elena smiled faintly. "You're right. Still, it's nice to look at something that hasn't been destroyed." Ryan studied her profile, noting the sadness in her expression. "You've seen a lot of destruction, haven't you?" "Too much," she admitted. "But maybe we can change that. Maybe we can fix what's broken." Ryan nodded. "That's why we're here, to try." As they stood there, watching the colors dance across the glass, Ryan felt a flicker of hope. The road ahead was uncertain, filled with peril and pain. But for the first time, he allowed himself to believe that they might succeed. Humanity had always risen to meet challenges, no matter how impossible they seemed. And now, with the fate of the galaxy resting on their shoulders, Ryan knew they would rise again. The countdown to their destination continued, and the weight of responsibility settled heavily on Ryan's shoulders. The galaxy was desperate, and only humans could save them. Part 4. The Aegis pushed further into the unknown, its path taking it closer to the heart of the Vorthek threat. The crew was exhausted but determined, their resolve strengthened by the knowledge that they were humanity's best and possibly only hope. Each day brought new challenges, from navigating treacherous regions of space to dealing with the growing strain of being cooped up together on a small starship. One evening, as the ship drifted through a particularly dense asteroid field, something unusual appeared on the sensors. Lieutenant Alex Carter frowned at his console, his fingers flying over the controls. "Captain," he called out, "there's something big out there. It's not natural." Ryan Cole stepped forward, his eyes narrowing as he studied the readings. "What is it?" "I'm not sure," Alex replied. "It's hidden behind those asteroids, but whatever it is, it's huge. And it's giving off some kind of energy signature." Ryan turned to Dr. Megan Harper, who was standing nearby. "Any ideas?" Megan adjusted her glasses and leaned in to look at the data. "It could be a ship, or maybe a station. Either way, it's advanced technology. Let's get closer." The Aegis moved cautiously toward the source of the signal, weaving between the massive rocks. As they rounded a particularly large asteroid, the object came into view, a massive fleet of alien ships unlike anything the crew had ever seen. Sleek and angular, the vessels shimmered with an iridescent glow, as if they were made of liquid metal. They were arranged in a tight formation, surrounding a central command ship that dwarfed even the largest human vessels. "Who are they?" Ben Miller asked, gripping his weapon tightly. Before anyone could answer, a transmission crackled through the comm system. A voice, calm but commanding, spoke in perfect English. "Human vessel, you have entered Krill territory. Identify yourselves immediately." Ryan exchanged a glance with his crew before stepping up to the communicator. "This is Captain Ryan Cole of the starship Aegis. We mean no harm. We're on a mission to stop the Vorthic nanobot swarm." There was a long pause, during which the Krill ships remained motionless. Then the voice returned. "You are aware that entering this region without permission is punishable by destruction?" "We didn't know this was your territory," Ryan admitted. "We're just trying to save the galaxy. If you destroy us, you'll be sealing your own fate too." Another pause followed. Finally, the Krill responded. "Dock with our flagship. We will decide your fate." The crew boarded a shuttlecraft and flew over to the Krill command ship. As they stepped onto the alien vessel, they were greeted by Commander Zenara, the leader of the Krill. She was tall and elegant, with skin that shimmered like opals and eyes that glowed faintly. Her presence commanded respect, and the crew instinctively straightened under her gaze. "You are brave to come here," Zenara said, her tone neutral. "Most species avoid Krill space." "We don't have time for avoidance," Ryan replied. "The Vorthic are destroying everything. We need help." Zenara studied him for a moment, then nodded. "We have been observing the Vorthic for centuries. Their behavior is predictable, but stopping them is another matter. We think we can reprogram them," Ryan explained. "But we need to reach their central control node. Can you help us?" Zenara hesitated. "The control node lies within the void or region of space where time and physics behave unpredictably. Few who enter return. We have to try," Ryan insisted. "If we don't, the galaxy will fall." Zenara considered his words carefully. Finally, she spoke. "Very well. We will assist you, but only because we see potential in your species. You are reckless, yes, but also adaptable. Perhaps that is what the galaxy needs." With the Krill's support, the Aegis prepared to enter the void. The Krill provided them with upgraded shielding and navigational data, though they warned that even these enhancements might not be enough. As the crew worked to integrate the new technology, tensions ran high. Everyone knew the risks, and the weight of what lay ahead pressed heavily on their minds. The entrance to the void looked like a swirling vortex of darkness, surrounded by bursts of light and energy. It was both beautiful and terrifying. Ryan stood on the bridge, watching as the Aegis approached the threshold. "Ready, Alex?" he asked. "As ready as I'll ever be," Alex replied, gripping the controls tightly. "Everyone hold on." Ryan announced over the intercom, "This is going to get bumpy." The ship crossed into the void, and immediately, everything changed. Time seemed to stretch and compress, with seconds feeling like hours and vice versa. Spatial anomalies pulled at the ship, twisting it in ways that should have torn it apart. Alarms blared constantly, and the crew fought to keep the Aegis stable. In The engine room, Sam Rivera worked frantically to maintain power. Sparks flew as circuits overloaded, and sweat dripped down his face. "Come on, baby," he muttered to himself. "Don't give up on me now." On the bridge, Elena sat quietly, her eyes closed as if listening to something only she could hear. When Ryan noticed her, he approached her cautiously. "Elena, are you okay?" She opened her eyes and nodded. "I can feel it, the void. It's alive in a way. If we let it guide us, it might show us the way through." "Are you sure?" Ryan asked. "No," she admitted. "But do we have any other choice?" Ryan hesitated, then made his decision. "Alex, follow Elena's directions." Alex raised an eyebrow but didn't argue. "All right, Captain. Whatever you say." Elena began giving instructions, her voice steady despite the chaos around them. Slowly but surely, the Aegis navigated through the void, dodging anomalies and riding waves of distorted energy. It was exhausting work, and by the time they emerged on the other side, the entire crew was drained. But they had made it. Ahead of them lay the Vorthak control node, a colossal structure floating amidst a sea of consumed worlds. Its surface shimmered with a cold, metallic light, and swarms of drones patrolled its perimeter. "We're here," Ryan said softly, his voice filled with awe and dread. "Now comes the hard part." The crew exchanged grim looks. They had reached their destination, but the real battle was just beginning. For the first time, they allowed themselves to feel a flicker of hope. If they succeeded, they could save the galaxy. If they failed, there would be no second chances. As the Aegis approached the control node, Ryan felt the weight of responsibility settle heavily on his shoulders. The galaxy was desperate, and only humans could save them. Part 5. The Aegis hovered near the Vorthak control node, a massive structure that loomed like a dark shadow against the emptiness of space. Its surface was covered in intricate patterns of glowing circuits, pulsing faintly as if alive. Swarms of drones patrolled the area, their movements precise and mechanical. The crew watched in silence, their hearts pounding with a mix of fear and determination. "This is it," Captain Ryan Cole said, breaking the quiet. "We've come too far to turn back now." Dr. Megan Harper adjusted her glasses, studying the readings on her tablet. "The energy signature from the node is off the charts. It's like nothing I've ever seen before. We'll need to get inside," Ryan continued. "Elena, you said this is where the hive mind is controlled. Do you know how we can access it?" Elena nodded slowly. "Yes, but it won't be easy. The entrance is heavily guarded, and once we're inside, we'll have to disable the security systems. Even then, reprogramming the hive mind will take time." Ryan turned to his team. "All right, here's the plan. Alex, you stay with the ship and keep an eye on things from here. If anything goes wrong, we'll need a way out. Ben, Sam, and I will go in with Elena and Megan. We'll split into 2 teams. Megan and Sam will focus on disabling the security systems while Ben, Elena, and I handle the guards." Everyone nodded, though their expressions were tense. They knew the risks. This mission could easily cost them their lives. But there was no other choice. The team boarded a shuttlecraft and flew toward the control node. As they approached, the swarm of drones shifted, moving to intercept them. Ben tightened his grip on his weapon, his jaw clenched. "Here we go." Alex guided the shuttle through the chaos, dodging blasts of energy from the drones. "Hold on," he shouted as the ship rocked violently. Finally, they reached the entrance, a massive door embedded in the side of the node. Ryan led the team out, weapons drawn. The drones descended, firing relentlessly. Ben and Ryan returned fire, their shots hitting their marks with deadly precision. Elena moved quickly, using her knowledge of the Vorthak to guide them toward the door. "Now," she yelled, pointing to a panel on the wall. Sam rushed over and began working on the panel, his fingers flying over the controls. Sparks flew as he forced the door open. Got it. The team hurried inside, the heavy door slamming shut behind them. For a moment, they stood in silence, catching their breath. The interior of the node was dimly lit, with walls covered in pulsating veins of light. It felt alive, almost organic. Let's move, Ryan said. Leading the way down a narrow corridor, the two teams split up, each heading toward their assigned tasks. Megan and Sam worked together to disable the security systems, their hands moving quickly as they deciphered alien technology. Megan muttered under her breath, her brow furrowed in concentration. This part connects to the central processor. If we reroute the power flow, Sam nodded, handing her a tool. Got it. Just tell me what to do. Meanwhile, Ryan, Ben, and Elena faced waves of drone guardians. The machines were relentless, attacking with cold efficiency. Ryan fired his weapon, taking down one drone after another. Ben stayed close, covering their backs. Elena moved ahead, her eyes scanning the environment. There, she called, pointing to a large console at the end of the hall. That's where we can disable the local defenses. Ryan and Ben followed her, fighting their way through the swarm. When they reached the console, Elena immediately began working on it. Her hands moved with practiced ease, entering commands into the alien interface. Almost there. Suddenly, a group of larger drones appeared, their designs more advanced than the others. They advanced slowly, weapons aimed directly at the team. Ben raised his weapon, but Ryan stopped him. No. We don't have time for this. He turned to Elena. How much longer? 30 seconds. She replied, her voice strained. Ben stepped forward, placing himself between the drones and Elena. I'll hold them off. Just finish it. The drones opened fire, forcing Ben to dive for cover. Ryan joined him, firing back as best he could. The battle was intense, the sound of energy blasts echoing through the corridor. Ben took a hit, wincing in pain but refusing to fall back. Keep going, he shouted. Finally, Elena let out a triumphant cry. It's done. The defenses are down. Ryan grabbed her arm and pulled her toward the exit. Let's go. They regrouped with Megan and Sam, who had successfully disabled the security systems. Together, they made their way deeper into the node, closer to the central control chamber. When they reached the chamber, the sight took their breath away. A massive core pulsed with energy, its surface covered in swirling patterns of light. It was the heart of the Vorthak hive mind, the source of their programming. This is it, Megan whispered. If we can reprogram it, we might be able to stop the swarm. But how? Ryan asked, looking at Elena. She hesitated, then stepped forward. I'll do it. I have the most experience with their systems. No, Ryan said firmly. It's too dangerous. It's the only way, Elena insisted. I know how their minds work. Trust me. Ryan stared at her, torn between his duty and his concern for her safety. Finally, he nodded. All right. But we're not leaving you alone. Elena smiled faintly. Thank you. She approached the core, placing her hands on its surface. Instantly, streams of data flooded her mind, overwhelming her senses. She gritted her teeth, focusing on the task at hand. Slowly, she began entering new commands, rewriting the ancient code that controlled the Vorthak. Outside the chamber, the rest of the team fought to hold off the remaining drones. Ben and Sam worked together, their movements synchronized as they defended the entrance. Megan monitored Elena's progress, her face pale with worry. How much longer? Ryan asked anxiously. Not long, Megan replied. But she's pushing herself too hard. Inside the chamber, Elena felt her strength fading. The strain of interfacing with the hive mind was taking its toll, but she refused to give up. With one final effort, she completed the reprogramming and collapsed to the floor. It's done, she whispered weakly. Ryan rushed to her side, helping her to her feet. You did it. Outside, the drones suddenly froze, their movements halting mid-action. Then, one by one, they powered down, falling silent. The swarm had been stopped. As the team made their way back to the Aegis, exhaustion weighed heavily. On them, they had succeeded, but at great cost. Elena leaned on Ryan for support, her body trembling with fatigue. Ben and Sam exchanged grim smiles, their faces smeared with dirt and sweat. Megan clutched her tablet tightly, her mind still processing everything that had happened. When they reached the ship, Alex greeted them with relief. You made it. We did, Ryan replied, his voice filled with pride and sorrow. But we couldn't have done it without Elena. As the Aegis prepared to leave the control node behind, Ryan looked out at the vast expanse of space. The galaxy was safe for now, but the weight of responsibility settled heavily on his shoulders. The galaxy was desperate, and only humans could save them. Part 6. The Aegis drifted away from the Vorthak control node, its engines humming softly as the crew caught their breath. The nanobot swarm had stopped spreading, its deadly hunger silenced by Elena's reprogramming. For the first time in weeks, there was a sense of relief, but it was short-lived. Elena lay unconscious in the medical bay, her body frail and pale. Dr. Megan Harper worked tirelessly to stabilize her, but the strain of interfacing with the hive mind had taken heavy toll. She's alive, Megan said quietly, looking up at Ryan as he entered the room. But barely. Her vitals are weak, and I'm not sure how much longer she can hold on. Ryan clenched his fists, guilt weighing heavily on him. He had known the risks when he let Elena take on the task, but he hadn't fully understood what it would cost. Is there anything we can do? Megan shook her head. We've done everything we can. Now it's up to her. Ryan stayed by Elena's side for a while, watching her shallow breathing. She had sacrificed so much for humanity, for the galaxy. If she didn't make it, her bravery would be remembered, but it wouldn't ease the ache of losing her. On the bridge, the rest of the crew tried to process what had happened. Lieutenant Alex Carter sat at the controls, staring out at the stars. His usual cocky grin was gone, replaced by a somber expression. Sergeant Ben Miller leaned against the wall, arms crossed, his face unreadable. Sam Rivera fiddled with a piece of equipment, though his hands moved slower than usual. It's over, Alex finally said, breaking the silence. We did it. The swarm stopped. But at what cost? Ben replied, his voice gruff. Elena might not make it. And even if she does, we still don't know what this means for the Vorthak. Sam nodded. Yeah, we shut them down. But they're not gone. What happens when they wake up again? Ryan walked onto the bridge, hearing the last part of the conversation. We'll deal with that when it comes, he said firmly. Right now, we focus on getting home. The galaxy owes us one hell of a thank you. The others nodded, though their expressions remained troubled. They had saved countless lives, but the victory felt hollow. Too many sacrifices had been made along the way. Hours later, Elena woke up briefly in the medical bay. Megan called Ryan immediately, and he rushed to her side. Her eyes fluttered open, unfocused at first, but then they locked onto his face. Ryan, she whispered, her voice barely audible. I'm here, he said, taking her hand gently. You did it, Elena. You stopped the swarm. She smiled faintly, though it looked like it took all her strength. Good. I wasn't sure if I could. You did more than anyone could have asked, Ryan told her. You saved the galaxy. Elena closed her eyes for a moment, her breathing shallow. When she opened them again, there was sadness in her gaze. I don't think I'll make it much longer. Ryan's throat tightened. Don't say that, you're strong. You'll pull through. She shook her head slightly. It's okay. I knew the risk. Just promise me one thing. Anything. Tell the others, thank you. for giving me a chance, for believing in me." Ryan nodded, tears welling up in his eyes. "I will. And I'll make sure everyone knows what you did." Elena's grip on his hand loosened, and she drifted back into unconsciousness. Ryan stayed with her until Megan gently ushered him out, promising to keep him updated. He returned to the bridge, his steps heavy with grief. The next day, Elena passed away. The news hit the crew hard. Even Alex, who rarely showed emotion, looked shaken. They held a small memorial service in the observation deck, floating her body into space surrounded by soft music and glowing lights. It was a quiet, respectful farewell for someone who had given everything to save them all. "She didn't have to do it," Megan said during the service, her voice trembling. "But she chose to. She gave us hope when we needed it most." "She was brave," Ben added. "Braver than any of us." Ryan stood silently, watching as Elena's body disappeared into the void. He couldn't find the words to express how he felt, how they all felt. Instead, he made a silent vow to honor her memory. Humanity would continue to explore the stars, to seek peace and understanding. That was the legacy Elena deserved. As the Aegis continued its journey home, the crew began to reflect on everything they had been through. They had faced impossible odds, fought battles they never imagined, and emerged victorious, but at great cost. Each member of the team had changed in some way, shaped by the challenges they had overcome. For Megan, the mission reinforced her belief in the power of knowledge. She spent hours reviewing data from the control node, determined to learn as much as she could about the Vorthek. "If we understand them better," she told Ryan, "we might be able to prevent something like this from happening again." Alex struggled with his own emotions. He had always prided himself on being fearless, but the mission had shown him just how fragile life really was. He started spending more time with the crew, opening up in ways he never had before. "Maybe I don't have to act tough all the time," he admitted to Ben one evening. "Sometimes it's okay to admit you're scared." Ben, too, found himself changing. The mission had reminded him why he fought, not just to protect his teammates, but to protect the innocent lives counting on them. "We're not just soldiers," he said during one late-night conversation. "We're guardians. That's what makes us different." Sam threw himself into his work, tinkering with the ship's systems and making improvements wherever he could. "If we're going to keep doing missions like this," he joked, "we need a ship that can handle it." And Ryan? He carried the weight of leadership more deeply than ever. The mission had tested him in ways he hadn't anticipated, forcing him to make difficult decisions and live with the consequences. But it had also shown him the strength of his team and of humanity itself. When the Aegis finally approached Earth's orbit, the crew gathered on the bridge to watch their home planet come into view. It was a sight none of them had taken for granted before, but now it filled them with pride and gratitude. They had left Earth as representatives of humanity, and they were returning as heroes. "We did it," Ryan said softly, his voice filled with emotion. "Against all odds. We saved the galaxy." "And we proved something," Megan added. "That humanity isn't just another species trying to survive. We're capable of greatness." Ryan nodded, looking at his team. "Let's go home." As the ship descended toward Earth, the weight of responsibility settled heavily on Ryan's shoulders. The galaxy was desperate, and only humans could save them. But for now, they had earned a moment of peace. Part 7. The Aegis touched down on Earth, greeted by a crowd of people waiting eagerly at the landing site. News of the crew's success had spread quickly, and humanity was eager to celebrate its heroes. Reporters shouted questions, cameras flashed, and cheers erupted as Captain Ryan Cole and his team stepped off the ship. For once, the crew didn't mind the attention. They had earned it. Ryan walked ahead, his face calm but proud. Behind him, Megan Harper carried herself with quiet dignity, while Alex Carter grinned broadly, waving to the crowd. Ben Miller and Sam Rivera followed close behind, their expressions serious but satisfied. They had returned home not just as survivors, but as saviors of the galaxy. Ambassador Lisa Monroe was there to meet them, her expression warm and grateful. "Captain Cole," she said, shaking his hand firmly. "On behalf of humanity and the entire galaxy, we thank you." Ryan nodded. "It wasn't just me, it was all of us." Lisa smiled. "And that's exactly why you succeeded. You've shown the galaxy what humans are capable of." As the formalities ended, the crew was whisked away to a series of debriefings and ceremonies. The Galactic Council had sent representatives to honor their bravery, presenting each member of the team with medals of valor. Speeches were made, stories were shared, and for a brief moment, humanity stood tall among the stars. But amidst the celebrations, Ryan couldn't shake the memory of Elena. Her sacrifice weighed heavily on him, a reminder of the cost of their victory. During one ceremony, he paused mid-speech to acknowledge her contribution. "We wouldn't be here today without someone who gave everything for this mission," he said, his voice steady but filled with emotion. "Elena may not have been human, but she embodied the best qualities of our species: courage, selflessness, and hope. Let's never forget her." The crowd fell silent, moved by his words. Even those who hadn't known Elena personally felt the weight of her loss. It was a sobering reminder that their triumph had come at a price. In the days that followed, life began to return to normal, or as normal as it could be, after saving the galaxy. The crew took some time to rest and recover, each dealing with the aftermath of the mission in their own way. Megan spent hours in her lab, analyzing data from the Vorthak control node. She was determined to understand how the hive mind worked, hoping to prevent a similar disaster in the future. "Knowledge is power," she reminded herself. "If we can learn from this, we can protect ourselves and others." Alex threw himself into flying, spending hours in the simulator to sharpen his skills. He had always loved the thrill of piloting, but now he approached it with a new sense of purpose. "I'm not just flying for fun anymore," he told Ryan. During one practice session, "I'm flying to keep everyone safe." Ben focused on training new recruits, passing on the lessons he had learned during the mission. "This isn't just about fighting," he explained to a group of young soldiers. "It's about protecting those who can't protect themselves. Never lose sight of that." Sam tinkered endlessly with the Aegis, making improvements and modifications. "This ship saved our lives more times than I can count," he said proudly. "I want to make sure it's ready for whatever comes next." And Ryan? He found himself reflecting on leadership and responsibility. The mission had tested him in ways he hadn't anticipated, forcing him to make decisions that affected not only his crew but the entire galaxy. He knew there would be more challenges ahead, but for now, he allowed himself a moment of peace. One evening, Ryan visited Elena's grave, which had been marked with a simple stone bearing her name. He stood silently for a long time, staring at the inscription. The wind rustled through the trees, and the stars twinkled overhead. "I promised I'd honor your memory," he said softly. "And I will. We'll keep exploring, keep learning, and keep trying to make things better. That's what you fought for." He stayed there for a while longer, letting the quiet soothe his thoughts. When he finally turned to leave, he felt a renewed sense of purpose. Elena's sacrifice hadn't been in vain. It had given humanity a chance to prove itself. And Ryan intended to make the most of it. The Galactic Council officially welcomed humanity as full members, recognizing their role in stopping the Vorthak threat. Ambassador Lisa Monroe delivered the news during a special meeting. "You've earned your place among the stars," she told Ryan and his team. "From this day forward, humanity will stand shoulder to shoulder with the other races of the galaxy." It was a historic moment, one that filled the crew with pride. But they also knew it came with responsibilities. Being part of the galactic community meant working together, sharing knowledge, and helping others in need. It wasn't going to be easy, but they were ready. As the celebrations wound down, Ryan gathered his team for one final meeting aboard the Aegis. They sat around the briefing table, tired but content. "So," Alex began, leaning back in his chair. "What's next?" Ryan smiled. "We rest for a bit, then we get back to work. The galaxy still needs us." Megan nodded. "There's so much we don't know yet. About Pavorthik, about the Krill, about everything. If we're going to keep helping, we need to stay sharp. And maybe next time, we won't have to lose anyone." Ben added quietly. Ryan looked at each of them, feeling a deep sense of gratitude. They had faced unimaginable dangers and emerged stronger because of it. Together, they had proven that humanity was capable of greatness not just for themselves, but for the entire galaxy. "We did good," Ryan said finally. "But this isn't the end. It's just the beginning." The crew exchanged smiles, knowing he was right. There would be more missions, more challenges, and more opportunities to make a difference. For now, though, they allowed themselves to enjoy the moment. They had saved the galaxy and earned their place among the stars. As the Aegis prepared for its next journey, the weight of responsibility settled heavily on Ryan's shoulders. The galaxy was desperate, and only humans could save them. But for the first time, Ryan felt truly hopeful. Humanity had risen to the challenge, and he knew they would continue to do so. Part 8. The Aegis was ready for its next mission. But before it launched, Captain Ryan Cole took a moment to reflect. He stood on the observation deck, staring out at the vast expanse of space. The stars twinkled like tiny diamonds against the endless blackness, each one a reminder of how small humanity was in the grand scheme of things, and yet, how much they had achieved. Ryan thought about everything they had been through, the battles, the sacrifices, the moments of doubt and triumph. Elena's face came to mind, her quiet determination and ultimate sacrifice. She had given them a chance to prove themselves, and now it was up to humanity to honor that gift. The galaxy had seen what humans were capable of, not just their strength, but their compassion, creativity, and resilience. "Captain?" Megan Harper's voice broke his thoughts. She stood in the doorway, holding a tablet filled with data from their last mission. "Are you all right?" Ryan turned and smiled faintly. "I'm fine. Just thinking." Megan stepped closer, glancing out at the stars. "About Elena?" He nodded. "Yeah, about her and everything we've done. It feels like we've crossed some kind of line. We're not just explorers anymore. We're protectors." Megan hesitated, then said softly, "She would be proud of us." "Of you." Ryan looked at her, surprised by the sincerity in her voice. "Thanks, Megan. That means a lot." Later that day, the crew gathered on the bridge for a final briefing before departure. Ryan stood at the front, his hands clasped behind his back. The team listened intently, their expressions serious but hopeful. "This isn't just another mission," Ryan began. "It's a new chapter for us, for humanity, and for the galaxy. We've earned the trust of other species, and now it's our job to keep building on that. There will be challenges ahead, no doubt about it. But if we work together, there's nothing we can't handle." Alex raised an eyebrow, smirking slightly. "So, what you're saying is, we're officially heroes now?" Ryan chuckled. "Don't let it go to your head, Lieutenant. Being a hero means taking responsibility. It means doing the hard things, even when no one's watching." Ben nodded in agreement, "and remembering why we do it. Not for fame or glory, but because it's the right thing." Sam adjusted his glasses, grinning. "Well, I guess that means more repairs for me. Can't have a hero ship without someone keeping it running." The group laughed, the tension easing as they shared a rare moment of levity. Despite the challenges ahead, they felt ready. They had faced the worst the galaxy could throw at them and come out stronger. Now they were prepared to face whatever came next. The Aegis launched into space once again. its engines roaring as it left Earth's orbit behind. The crew worked seamlessly, their movements precise and practiced. This time, they weren't heading toward danger. They were exploring, seeking out new worlds and civilizations. The Galactic Council had tasked them with mapping uncharted regions of space, forging alliances, and learning as much as they could about the universe. As they traveled, the crew found themselves marveling at the wonders they encountered. Strange planets with glowing forests, alien creatures that defied explanation, and ancient ruins left behind by long-lost civilizations. Each discovery reminded them of how much there was to learn and how much humanity still had to offer. One evening, as the ship drifted near a nebula painted in vivid shades of purple and gold, Ryan joined Alex on the flight deck. The younger man was gazing out at the swirling colors, his usual bravado replaced by quiet awe. "You know," Alex said, breaking the silence, "sometimes I forget how beautiful it all is. Out here, I mean, all this, it makes everything else feel so small." Ryan nodded. "That's the thing about space. It humbles you, reminds you that we're part of something bigger." Alex glanced at him, his expression thoughtful. "Do you ever wonder if we're ready for all this? For being part of the galactic community, I mean." "All the time," Ryan admitted. "But I think that's okay. No one's ever really ready for something like this. You just do your best and hope it's enough." Alex smiled faintly. "Guess that's all any of us can do." Back in the medical bay, Megan continued her research, poring over data from the Vorthek control node. She had made significant progress in understanding their programming, uncovering clues that might help prevent future threats. Her work wasn't glamorous, but she knew it was important. One afternoon, Sam stopped by to check on some equipment. He watched her for a moment, then asked, "Do you ever get tired of it? All this studying and analyzing?" Megan looked up, smiling. "Sometimes. But then I remember why I'm doing it. If we can learn from the past, maybe we can build a better future." Sam nodded, impressed by her dedication. "You're amazing, you know that?" She laughed. "Flattery won't get you out of helping me calibrate these sensors." Meanwhile, Ben spent his downtime training new recruits. He had become a mentor of sorts, sharing his experience and wisdom with those who looked up to him. It wasn't something he had expected to enjoy, but he found fulfillment in passing on what he had learned. "You're doing great," he told a young soldier during a practice session. "Just remember to stay focused. Even the smallest mistake can cost you." The recruit nodded, grateful for the advice. "Thanks, Sergeant Miller." Ben clapped him on the shoulder. "Anytime. Now let's try that again." As weeks turned into months, the Aegis ventured further into the unknown. The crew grew closer, their bond strengthened by shared experiences and mutual respect. They had started as individuals with different backgrounds and personalities, but now they were a family, a team united by purpose and trust. One night, Ryan called everyone to the observation deck for a special announcement. When they arrived, he gestured to the view outside, a breathtaking panorama of stars and galaxies, stretching endlessly in every direction. "We've come a long way," he said, his voice filled with pride. "Not just in terms of distance, but in terms of who we are. Humanity has always dreamed of reaching the stars, and now we're living that dream. But it's not just about us. It's about what we can give back to each other, to the galaxy, to the future." The crew exchanged smiles, their hearts swelling with emotion. They had saved the galaxy once, but Ryan's words reminded them that their journey was far from over. There were still mysteries to uncover, dangers to face, and lives to touch. As the Aegis sailed onward, Ryan returned to the observation deck alone. He stared out at the stars, feeling a deep sense of gratitude. The galaxy had been desperate, and only humans could save it. But now, humanity had proven itself not just as survivors, but as builders, explorers, and guardians. Ryan allowed himself a small smile. Whatever lay ahead, he knew they would face it together. And that was enough.